Good morning. This is Town Supervisor Tony Gonsalves here at John Jay High School. We're here this morning for the dedication and unveiling of the John Jay High School Veterans Memorial Highway signs, which were put up by New York State DOT. Beautiful day for this event. A lot of dignitaries and a lot of people here from town. Looking forward to it.
Hello everybody, my name is Grant Fialardi. I'm the founder of Project Honor, the project that started with my charity to have a plaque installed at Lewisboro Town Hall to memorialize the 6 servicemen we lost from John Jay High School. We're here today to dedicate the John Jay Veterans Memorial Highway. Route 121 has been renamed, a section of it, to honor these 6 men. So I'm here today to be a part of that ceremony, and I'm very happy. So we have a great showing from the community. We have all of our volunteer first responders here, and so I'm thrilled to see this through. So thank you.
You know, last week I was at the inspection for the...
Well, thank you all for coming out today on this beautiful Memorial Day weekend celebration. We will be dedicating and unveiling the John Jay High School Veteran Memorial Highway. For those who don't know, I am your town supervisor, Tony Gonsalves. And these signs were a result of an effort by multiple people, and I'll get into that in more detail a little later. The 2 signs that are that have been installed by New York State DOT, in case you didn't notice them when you drove in, there's one just north of here, and right just before Gideon Reynolds, and one near the Shell station by the corner of 35. These 2 signs will stand to remind everyone of the sacrifices of the students of this high school who gave the ultimate sacrifice. And hopefully will be a remembrance, a reminder to all of our service members, the men and women in uniform who defend the United States of America and are, working throughout the world to provide freedom to where it's needed to be provided. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Heather Lackey to sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous night o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Okay, but before we continue, I just want to introduce some of the dignitaries that are here, starting with Ken Jenkins, our Deputy County Executive, our New York Assembly Member, Chris Burdick, New York State Senator Pete Harcum, Town Council Member Mary Shaw. We have John Lemke, the Chair of our Veterans Advisory Committee, and I see the next name, Grant Fialardi, Lardy, who, as a result of his efforts, this was made possible. Lenny Esposito, who's also a member of the Veterans Advisory Committee, and he'll be coming up shortly. Next on the agenda, I'd like to welcome both John and Grant to come up to the podium.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And what a beautiful day. First, I want to thank our first responders for all the apparatus. This is a great showing. Thank you. Also, we have any John Jay alumni here? Wow. Wow. I know 3 or 4 of my classmates are here. And how many of you alumni are veterans? That's good showing also. Thank you. I just want to quickly say the Lewisboro Veteran Advisory Committee was formed 5 years ago on November of 2019, and I appreciate all the support from the town. Our mission was not to take over, but to help support all the organizations that do veteran projects in town, particularly the Girl Scout cookie delivery, the Boy Scout turkey dinner, Veteran Day breakfast at the South Salem Fire Department, all the flag displays, and also the Lewisboro Lions Club for their great support. Our first Memorial Day was 2020, and there were 6 of us standing on the lawn being recorded because of COVID. So it wasn't exactly a good start. And I was more nervous then with that camera than I am here now today. We've come a long way, and I'm grateful to the high school students that have taken veteran projects on. The first was a military tribute banner. It was done by Andrew Lucason in the fall of 2020, John Jay student. And we've hung them every year, and I'm especially proud of mine and my father's being side by side every year. And then Grant came along, and his project, Proposal for Veterans Day 2022, he organized, completed the memorial stone dedication to 6 John Jay heroes. This memorial is on the townhouse lawn, and it's very appropriate we now name the road for them. It's important that the John Jay students today are aware of what former students have sacrificed for their freedom. Freedom is not free. Before I turn this over to Grant for his reflections on Project Honor, I want to announce that, believe it or not, yesterday I was made aware of a 7th student killed in active duty in 1990 from the class of 1987. Unfortunately, this project doesn't end. He will be part of our roll call before taps at the end of this ceremony. At this time, it's my honor to introduce Grant Velarde, talk about his Project Honor. And I say honor because with one of my emails that came out horror, auto misspell got me. So Project Honor.
Good morning. My name is Grant Velarde, and I am the founder of Project Honor. I'm going to keep my remarks today relatively brief, but there are a few key things I'd like to touch on at today's ceremony. First and foremost, thank you all for coming to support this event today. I'd also like to thank the great showing from the Lewisboro volunteer first responder agencies who have come out to support this event today. Additionally, I'd like to thank those who have provided immeasurable support to this project, including Mr. John Lemke, Supervisor Gonsalves, Representative Burdick, and Senator Harcum. Thank you all. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Project Honor, it was a charity I started over 2 years ago to honor the 6 fallen servicemen, now I learned 7, from John Jay High School. My original goal was to install a memorial plaque at Lewisboro Town Hall, which, thanks to the generous contributions of the community, I was able to achieve on Veterans Day 2022. Another goal I had dreamt up at the time was trying to get the road in front of John Jay High School renamed in honor of these 7 men. I felt that while the plaque was an excellent way to honor them, it would be even better if we had something that people would pass by each and every day. For that reason, I am thrilled to stand here today and see that dream become reality. My goal from the start of Project Honor was to find a way to bring attention to these 6 men who had previously been forgotten by many of our citizens. These 7 men deserve to be remembered and deserve to be honored for the service and sacrifice they made for this country and for our town. I see this sign as reading much more than the John Jay Veterans Memorial Highway. To me it shouts, "We will not forget those who have sacrificed for us." That is the reason we have all gathered here today. We are not here solely because this road is being renamed in honor of these heroes. We are here to remember them for their sacrifice and also to remember them as members of our community. Sons, brothers, fathers, husbands, lost in the line of duty. For that reason, I would like to take a moment and touch briefly on the story of each of these 6 men by reading messages from those who knew them. As a side note, I prepared a booklet for Veterans Day of 2022. John kindly brought a number of them. If you're interested, the full stories of all these men are included in the booklet. See me afterwards, I'd be happy to give you one. For the stories, I will start with the youngest of the men who died, Lieutenant Corporal Howard J. Alamo. A childhood friend wrote, "Howie and I grew up together, living houses apart in Katona. From time to time, we attended the same schools. I always wondered what he would make of himself. But he was a fun playmate. We spent hours in the rural fields, making up games and adventures. In the innocence of childhood, we played war, killing each other with great abandon, only to all come alive again at game's end. I don't know why Howie enlisted. We had drifted apart as we grew older, each running in a different crowd in high school. We heard he graduated early and enlisted. And then we heard the Jeep he was in hit a landmine. That time, Howie didn't come alive again at game's end. And to this day, I still wonder what Howie would have made of himself." Lieutenant Corporal Alamo was killed in combat in South Vietnam at just 18 years old. Next, we have Private First Class Philip G. Chipchase. A fellow Marine described his final moments, writing, "I will never forget that Operation Adair when our platoon assaulted that tree line. I was trying to reach your platoon sergeant to give him the message to sweep the line from the far side when the exchange of fire started. You were looking for the enemy when a round went through your chest. I pulled you down, air was leaking from your chest, so I put some cellophane from a pack of cigarettes over the wound and patched you up before pulling you back for evacuation. When you were flown out, I thought you would survive, but news came back a few days later that you had not. You were a good Marine, and we always pray for you." Private First Class Chipchase was only 22 years old. A fellow Marine who fought with the next of our 7, Private First Class Kenneth R. Giaconetti, remembered, "I was with Ken the day he was killed. We were riding on a tank that hit a mine. We had 3 KIAs and 4 wounded that day. I would really like to get in touch with any family members of Ken's." Private First Class Giaconetti was 20 years old when he was killed. For 3 of the servicemen, we do not have any detailed accounts by those who knew them. Instead, we only know how they met their fate. Lieutenant Commander George R. Matthews was the highest ranking of the 6 killed from John Jay, and at 33 years of age, he was the oldest. Lieutenant Commander Matthews was killed in a high-speed helicopter crash in South Vietnam. Corporal James J. Jakowski and Corporal Bert D. Corcoran were both 2 kids from Lewisboro, one from Katona and one from Vista. Both were part of a multinational peacekeeping force in Lebanon and were killed by a terrorist bombing in October of 1983. Corporal Jakowski was only 20 years old, and Corporal Corcoran was 19. These 6 men are the reason this project was started and the reason you are all standing here today. While you enjoy this Memorial Day weekend, take a moment to keep them in your hearts, in your minds, and do not let them be forgotten. While this road renaming may be the end of Project Honor, it should not be the end of sending the message that we will honor those who have served us. I hope that all of you will share with your family, your friends, your acquaintances, the importance of making sure we remember all of those who have sacrificed for us, whether they died as a member of our armed forces or whether they volunteer their time as our first responders here today do. In closing, Let us remember these 6 men, and let us have their legacy be that they were the inspiration, the start of a greater movement to honor their sacrifice by making this community and the world a better place. Whether that means going out and joining one of those first responder agencies, volunteering at the library, or even just going out of your way to help your neighbor, it is their sacrifice which gave us the freedom to choose our own path. Let us honor their memory by making the most of those choices. Thank you all again for coming and for giving me the opportunity to say a few words today. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to ask Lenny Esposito to come up. Lenny is a member of the Lewisboro Veterans Advisory Committee and is also very involved with the Disabled American Veterans.
Thank you, Tony. I just want to say, for people like us, veterans like my friend John Lemke, anybody that's ever been in the combat zone, Memorial Day humbles us because we say, why did we come back? And sometimes there's a lot of mental problems because of that. I came up and I moved to this town 22 years ago to give my daughter Angelica, to get her out of Brooklyn, New York. I can't say that I grew up here because you could probably tell I'm from Brooklyn, New York, right? But we came specifically because of the school. And sometimes there's always coincidences in my life. I joined the Army when my father actually was my recruiter. I was a bad kid in Brooklyn and he made me join. I had to. And it was the best thing I ever did. I stayed in 25 years between active and reserves. And I got out without a scratch. Thank you. And then I'm doubly humble because I spent 32 years in the New York City Police Department. I retired a detective, got out without a scratch. And many of my colleagues did not. So it really humbles us. But what I really want to say is that I just found out today, this coincidence, that the principal of John Jay was in the same unit I was in, the 69th Infantry Division. That man right there. First time I met him. A great unit in New York, 69th Infantry Division. We both served. Now, I'm a lot older than him, so he served way after I transferred to another unit. But I just want to tell you, if anybody served in the military, you know this. But if you didn't, we have what's called a challenge coin. And a challenge coin is a coin representing each unit, and we trade them. And the reason why it's called the challenge coin is when you're on base. If you're in one of those clubs, the soldiers' clubs, if somebody challenges you and puts that coin on the bar, and you don't have your coin, you have to buy the whole bar a drink, right? And I will say I'll tell you one story that you might know. There was a colonel, Hennessy, great guy, Vietnam vet that I served with in the 69, and he was famous for putting that coin out. And one time we have a lot of tradition. I just went to a dinner not too long ago down in the city with the 69. A lot of tradition. And I was walking in, we were having a party. I was getting ready to go into the officers club, and all of a sudden my friend goes, "Lenny, Hennessy's in there." And I went, "Oh no, I don't have my coin." Luckily they were selling them outside. I had a bad coin.
I'd like to just say a few words before I introduce the rest of the agenda. But the installation of these signs by New York State Department of Transportation would not have been possible without the efforts of several people, as I had mentioned earlier. I'm very thankful again to Grant Velarde and John Lemke for bringing this idea to my office. I'm thankful to Senator Harcum, who took my phone call when I asked about having these signs installed, and he submitted our request up to Albany. And the support of Assemblymember Burdick, who also gave his full support for this project. I'm also thankful to the folks at New York State DOT. They were terrific in working with us. We were very concerned about the schedule. At first, they didn't think they would be able to put the signs up prior to Memorial Day weekend. I pushed, made many phone calls, and eventually they came through. So they called me about a week and a half ago to say we're going to be on site to mark the locations of the sign. We'd like for you to come out. I invited John Lemke. John approved of the location of the signs, and 2 days later they were installed. With that, I'd like to ask Senator Pete Harcum to say a few words.
Good morning, everybody. What an incredible day. First, I want to thank all of the veterans who are here. Thank you for your service to our nation. I want to thank all of the first responders who are here. This is a remarkable day, a true collaborative team effort. But before I say a few remarks about this, being Memorial Day, I'd like to just pause for a moment and remember another Lewisboro veteran who just passed recently, Bob Castelli. Bob was a good friend of mine. We started out as political opponents. We became good friends in that process. But Bob was a combat veteran in Vietnam. He was a state trooper. He served honorably in the assembly for several terms. He was a professor. But Bob may not have died in Vietnam, but the cancer that took his life struck him in Vietnam due to his exposure to Agent Orange. And so on this Memorial Day, if we could all remember Bob and his family, please keep him in our prayers. You know, Grant did an amazing job of putting a human face on this, and I want to thank everybody involved, John and Grant and the veterans, all of the local officials, Tony and Mary and Chris. You know, believe it or not, if you want to put signs up like this on a state road, you have to pass legislation. So Chris and I had to pass legislation. The governor had to sign it. We're happy Governor Hochul signed it. We had the easy part. You did the hard work. But the point of this is, in Memorial Day, we talk about, you know, the millions, the over 1 million American service members who have died serving this country. And my father fought in World War II in France and Germany, and he always used to say the heroes are the ones who did not come back. And so today we are commemorating 7 heroes. And as Grant so eloquently said, you know, these were not statistics. They were not 7 out of 1 million. They were your friends. They were your classmates. They were your brothers, your sisters. And that's what we need to remember on Memorial Day. These 6 enshrined here, the 7th, who John mentioned, and sadly there will be more as we move through history. But today, this is really a good day for us as a community, where we can come together, we can honor the sacrifice that these 7 made, so that people can criticize people like me and Chris. That's a remarkable thing. Not even found in other democracies. The fact that we are here freely assembling without risk of the police dispersing us, and that people can criticize their elected officials. That's what these folks died for, and that's a remarkable gift that we all enjoyed today. So thank you all so much. God bless you.
Okay, next I'd like to call up Chris Burdick, our New York State Assembly member.
Thank you, Tony, and once again, thank all of you in the community for being here and helping to make this happen. And I do want to recognize, and I think he's still here, Clark Petchick, who chairs the Bedford Veterans Advisory Committee, because he was with us every step of the way. Clark, back there, raise your hand. Let's give a round of applause for Clark, too. So the real congratulations goes to Grant Fialardi, who had the idea and stuck with it. As you heard him speak, for anybody who hadn't met him before or hadn't heard him before, you can hear and see that he's really a remarkable young man. And we were very pleased that he was an intern in my office and said, we'd really like to get this done. And so, as Pete had mentioned, it truly was a team effort. And also, as Pete has mentioned, we were really a minor part of it, getting through the legislation. But I especially want to thank John Lemke, and please a round of applause for John for the tremendous work that he does. And I want to thank John as well for the work that he does as a member of my Veterans Advisory Committee to help me on my work in the New York State Assembly as a member of the New York State Assembly Standing Committee on Veterans Affairs. So, you know, this occasion, in many respects, is a solemn occasion, and it's also one of joy. It's solemn because we're here to remember those 7 individuals who gave their last full measure in defense of this country and for all of the values that we hold dear. And so truly is fitting that we have it this Memorial Day. And I just want to mention some words that I had a few years back with an outstanding veteran who lives in Katona. And I had this is when I was serving as supervisor of the town of Bedford. And I was asked to say a few remarks. And, you know, I was thinking about Memorial Day celebrations and barbecues and so forth. And I said, you know, Tom, I don't feel comfortable with all of that in some senses, because this is such a solemn occasion. I don't know how I treat that. And you know what Tom said was, Chris, I disagree with you. And I'll tell you why. It's because those men and women who laid down their lives were doing so as part of what has been said repeatedly, to defend our freedom, our liberties, but also everything that we enjoy as being American citizens. Really no other country in the world can boast of the tremendous freedoms that we have here in this country. And so I just would like you to, as you go about and enjoy with your families and friends, the barbecues, the get-togethers, just please pause and take a moment to those who made the ultimate sacrifice so you could do so. Thank you very much.
Certainly on behalf of County Executive George Latimer, for me it is awesome to be up here again with our friends up in Lewisboro, and first thanking not only our veterans for the work that they had done in protecting all of our freedom, all of our first responders that are here, and every veteran has said the same thing, that as they stepped up here, this day, Memorial Day, is not about them, it is about those who did not come home, those heroes that did not come home. So we want to make sure to say thank you for all of those folks that continue to protect our freedoms and to make sure that we're able to have the engagement we have today. I want to look at Grant because as Chris was talking about it, not only was it's very impressive. I've heard Grant before. I had interactions with him when he was working as interns in both the offices, if I remember correctly, right? But he is an amazing, amazing young man, and it's a testament to him and his family and everyone here in the town supporting him. John right next to him, making sure that things work. Congratulations, let's give it up one more time for Grant, Lardy, and all that kind of work and pushing it through. It is easy for folks to remember or forget on a beautiful day like this. And yesterday, when we had our county celebration and recognition and remembrance, the pastor, the bishop that came and spoke said it was a reminder, and it continues to be a reminder. This is a reminder for John Jay High School. It's a reminder for the town of Lewisboro. It's a reminder for all of us that people have sacrificed, not just the men and women, in this case, or men that have been lost in fighting for our freedoms, but the 1 million, but not just putting a face. It's a neighbor, it's a friend, it was a brother, it was a sister, it could be anyone like that. And that's why this is so very important for us to continue to remember. When I come up here, I usually hit off of 35, and that corner, I usually see that nice big sign, Tony, now that's going to say John Jay High School Veterans Memorial Highway, and that's going to continue to remember for everyone. And we want to thank you, Grant, for the work to make sure that no one ever forgets those John Jay High School veterans that made the ultimate sacrifice for all of us to continue to be here. But more importantly, to continue that work as a young person with those students, because it's just so very important. Pete, Senator Harkin was right. Unfortunately, we're going to have more folks that are making that ultimate sacrifice to protect our freedoms. And we need to make sure that everyone understands that we will always, always remember them and support them. So thank you once again, Grant. Congratulations to all of the people that have put in the work to make this happen today. And this is a great day for that remembrance. And let's make sure, because we're all here, we are all remembering the folks on Memorial Day. We're going to have to pass that on to some other folks as well to make sure it's not just about barbecue and shopping. It's about those folks that made the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you again.
We're going to do the roll call of the names and immediately go into taps if our bugler is still not too hot. And I want Grant and I to do this together, kind of our final gesture. Number 1 is my classmate, Lance Corporal, United States Marine Corps, Howard J. Alimo, killed May 31st, 1968 in Vietnam.
Private First Class, United States Marine Corps, Philip G. Chipchase, killed June 15th, 1967 in Vietnam.
Corporal, U.S. Marine Corps, Bert D. Kikorin, died October 23rd, 1983 in Beirut, Lebanon.
Corporal, United States Marine Corps, James J. Jakowski, killed October 23rd, 1983, Beirut, Lebanon.
Number 5, PFC, U.S. Marine Corps, Kenneth R. Giaconetti, killed December 18th, 1967, Vietnam.
Lieutenant Commander, United States Navy, George R. Matthews, killed February 10th, 1970 in Vietnam.
And the last, 7th one I learned about yesterday, PFC, U.S. Army, Anthony Joseph Pedagano, January 18th, 1990, during Operation Just Cause in Panama.
Thank you, John, Grant, and Tom. Yeah, in closing, I'd just like to say that I'm proud of the work of the Lewisboro Veterans Advisory Committee, its chair, John Lemke, Grant Filardi for the work he did in pursuing this project, and all those who have supported the committee. Let these signs be a reminder to all who drive this road of the sacrifices of our men and women in uniform defending our freedoms in our country and around the world. The ones who have sacrificed and given the ultimate sacrifice, and the ones that are currently serving. And I'd like a personal shout out to my 2 boys, both graduates of John Jay High School. John used to work with the Department of Defense, spent 4 months in a NATO base in Iraq, and now works for the State Department. I can't tell you what he does because he won't share that with me. And my other son AJ, who lives out in Salt Lake City, he joined the Army Reserves Airborne Unit, and he's jumping out of perfectly good working airplanes. So I'm proud of my boys and the work that they do and all our men and women in uniform. So thank you all for coming out today, and enjoy your Memorial Day weekend, and please remember the sacrifices of our service members. And thanks to all the volunteers who are here, representatives of each of the fire departments, Vista, South Salem, Goldens Bridge, Lewisboro Volunteer Ambulance Corps. I'd like to shout out to our PD. Lewisboro PD is out here as well. So thank you all for coming out. Enjoy your weekend.
You're watching Lewisboro Community Television, Channel 20.